Welcome back, guys. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Terrible Towel Tuesday. I am your host, Sim Football Critic. And guys, I was actually able to do a live show today. I didn't think I would be able to do it live, but my schedule changed a little bit. So actually, I didn't have to go into the office today. So here we are conducting a live show. Now, I don't really have much to talk about. I know I say that all the time in each episode, but don't really have much to talk about, man. I'm going to try to talk about the best I can, whatever there is to talk about. Couple things. I mean, like I said in the title here, OTAs, safety questions, Martavis Bryant, and the rule changes. Those are the main things I want to focus on. But going ahead and starting in a different direction real quick, I want to talk about Ben Roethlisberger a little bit. The reason why I want to talk about Ben Roethlisberger, man, is because, Roethlisberger, he's showing commitment. But he's continuing to stick with the theme of saying that he's not committing beyond, this year. He keeps saying that, he seriously contemplated retirement. He's not committing, beyond a year, which he says he generally likes to say that all the time. He basically says no player should do that because you never know. I get all of that. But at the same time, if you're looking at it from, a Steelers standpoint, as a fan, you have to take that into consideration. And it may very well mean what I stated a while back. You guys may remember when I said that the Steelers may be looking to double dip in terms of quarterback in two different drafts. Obviously we drafted Josh Dobbs in this particular draft, which, I did say that we would draft. I was right about that. I thought we were going to get him in the third round. We actually got him in the fourth. But you hear a lot of people saying that next year's crop of quarterbacks may be the cream of the crop. So the Steelers may have an opportunity there to look for another quarterback, which I think they will. Remember, I said that several weeks ago. Don't be surprised if they don't go quarterback in both drafts, because we don't know what Ben Roethlisberger is going to do, especially, of course, we're all hoping this happens, especially if the Steelers somehow win a Super Bowl this season. That could be it for Big Ben. I think the writing is on the wall. You hear Willie Colon come out and say, look, I think he really considered it. A lot of us Steelers fans know him and Colon and some of those other guys on the line, real close friends. Over the years, they've been tight. Listen, even when they asked him about it, I think it was Mike Pursuta that asked him. He said, what, you thought I was lying? In a joking way, but he meant it. He may be on his way out. So that's just interesting. I just thought that's something that I would mention today. We got to keep an eye on Josh Dobbs to see how he's progressing, because obviously I don't think any of us is really comfortable with saying, yeah, we're going to go with Landry Jones as the bona fide number two. No, Landry has had his time. I think Landry, it was good for him to re-sign with us because he can semi-manage a game if necessary, win a game or two if necessary. But I definitely think it's time for someone else to show what they can do. They haven't been there 4 years like Landry Jones, right? I'd rather Landry Jones be the security blanket. You know what I mean? Like the worst case scenario, you have him in your number three. That's what I would hope. So we'll have to keep an eye on what Dobbs does. We'll see how the Steelers manage him. And we'll see, man, once training camp opens up and see what he has to offer. So moving on to some of the topics, man. OTAs is really not a lot that we could talk about right now. These are the voluntary OTAs. I will say this, and Ben Roethlisberger made, note of this. He wasn't slighting Le'Veon Bell in any way. But he was, he asked him about Le'Veon. It was like, obviously, Le'Veon has an injury. He was saying he wished he could be there, just to get some of the chemistry and camaraderie and things like that. I would have to agree with that. Now, again, I'm not slighting Le'Veon Bell at all. These are basically voluntary workouts. He's nursing an injury. Y'all know he's rapping, so he's, doing music, which, listen, I ain't mad at that. I did music at one time in my life. I still produce music as far as creating beats, so I'm not mad at that. I understand. But I would like for him to be there. And the only reason why I say that is because, again, the camaraderie, being with your guys, even if you can't be on the field, just being around your guys that first time since the last time y'all played, just to get back, get that feeling back. Y'all know how it is if you guys play sports or even just your homeboys that you haven't seen in a while. Every now and then it's good to just meet with them, hook up, and kick the BS, so to speak. You know what I mean? So I would agree with that. And again, I don't think that Ben Roethlisberger was speaking specifically to Le'Veon Bell. It's just that they asked him that question. I would have to agree with that. So in terms of OTAs, the reason why I put this as a topic, not a lot that we're hearing. A few things. We're definitely hearing some flashes from Keon Adams, which is interesting. TJ Watt has reps with the number one, which that is great. What's up, my boy Tony's in the comments there. Hell to the black and gold. TJ Watt getting reps with the ones, and we know, James Harrison doesn't necessarily participate in these particular functions, even though he's there. See what I'm saying? He's still there. You've still seen him there lifting weights and all of that. He just doesn't always participate on field for obvious reasons. Older, he's done it. I mean, you know how Tomlin gives some guys the veteran benefit. James Harrison is going to be James Harrison when we need him to be. So that's one of the reasons why Watt is getting those reps. But it's good to get that because, again, we all think that Watt and Harrison will be sharing duty. So it's great to get that camaraderie, like I said, just learning the verbiage, seeing the communication, how it plays out with the number ones versus the number one offense, always good there. We're also hearing a few things about Juju Smith-Schuster, Juju on that beat, as I call him. Hearing he's just doing some good things, man. He's showing great footwork, which, that's probably some of the things we were able to see in his college tape. And I think I mentioned this last week, but they did say that kid, Brian Allen, was making some phenomenal plays. They actually got footage of it. Go to Alex Kozor. He has a YouTube page as well. He's one of the beat writers for the Steelers. He has footage of Brian Allen's one-hand interception. If I find it, actually, I looked at it the other day. If I can find it, guys, I'll remember to come back and put it in the description here so you guys can see it. And I see somebody already said Brian Allen might be starting. Yeah, I will remember that. I will make myself remember to go get the highlights. I just saw it. Maybe I might even be able to find it while we're talking here. I don't want to, take away from what I'm saying. But if I don't, I'll find it, put that clip in the description so you guys can see it. It was a phenomenal interception, a one-hander. Again, this dude is 6'4", 200-plus pounds. We'll see. Y'all know I'm not big on draft pick as far as the round. I'm not huge on that. We all know Antonio Brown, don't we? We all know what round he was drafted. That, to me, doesn't matter. You can plug a dude in, and he may excel. So that's all that matters to me. So we'll see. Let me see. What else? Is there anything else, guys, out of OTAs? Oh, here's an interesting fact, man. And shout-outs to SteelersDepot.com, Dave Bryan over there. He said the same thing. Not really questioning if it will happen, more or less when. But Cam Sutton is not getting any reps really in the slot position. And that's very interesting. They opened up OTAs with William Gay as the starter. Now, I'm not going to read too much into that, guys, because I understand, obviously, you're going to go with your most recent depth chart. You don't know what these other kids have to bring to the table. So, obviously, you're going to go with some other guys first. But I'm going to tell y'all right now, I'm going to be pretty pissed if William Gay starts the season as the number one. I might even be pissed if he's starting in the preseason first game as the number one slot guy. Here's a couple reasons why. Not so much pissed at the Steelers, because I trust in the coaching staff. I trust in our team. I trust they know what they're doing. But that would let me know that Golson is not doing what he's supposed to do after 2 years off. Cam Sutton must not be doing what he's supposed to do, or maybe he's looked at more as an outside. That would piss me off because I really think it's time for William Gay to take a back seat, be the backup guy, or move him to safety or what have you, whatever you want to do there. But that would piss me off a little bit, man, if William Gay starts off as a slot. Now, here's another thing I wanted to talk about real quick, and I'm sorry if I'm speeding, guys. I'm trying to get this done here before 1 o'clock. Started a little late. And I'm going to try to, come up with a time. Maybe we'll do 12:30 every Tuesday when I can do a live show, because that way, even during the season, it's generally a little bit after or right as Coach Tomlin is finishing, his conference. So we'll nail down a time. Anywhere between 12 and 12:30 works best for me, because obviously when I'm here at home, that's when I have my hour that I could step away from my work duties and do this. So I'll leave that up to you guys, man, whether it be like 12, start right at 12 or a little bit after, or 12:30. And that way we can have a definitive time and time slot. You know, the show would be 20 to 25 minutes, something like that. Now, here's a couple other things I wanted to mention, man. It still is signed a couple guys here in free agency. They signed Damian Stafford. This guy's a safety. You know, some of you guys may know he played at Tennessee. I think he was at the Titans most recently. Now, here's what's interesting about that. Why are they looking at so many safeties? Huh? Now, a lot of us always talk about Mike Mitchell, and we all agree, not the best corner safety. Corner safety, not the best cover safety, right? We all agree on that. I think the Steelers are starting to come around with that same mentality as well. And yes, it looks like he's been with the Titans the whole time. He's played his 4-year contract. Let me give you his measurables: 6'1", 218. Just looking at some of his stats, he's only had 2 interceptions in his career. And he is, what I'm not sure of, guys, I don't know if he's a strong safety or a free safety. You guys probably could tell me that. And my boy, shout outs to my man Azure Effect, diehard Titans fan. I'm sure he will know, which I'm going to talk to him about this guy, just like he talks to me about Steelers guys. But yeah, 6'1", 218. He's only 26 years of age. Could be something there. And remember, they brought in Trey Boston for a visit, so they're actively going after safeties. We know that Sean Davis is going to be the guy at the strong safety, but maybe they're not sure about Robert Golden, which I'm not either. Or Dangerfield. You know, Dangerfield to me is more of a run support type of guy, good special teamer, but is he a cover man? Don't know. And then you're looking at Mike Mitchell. Like, who else is there behind these guys? So that might be the reason why they're actively pursuing safeties. Keep an eye on that. We'll see what happens. Remember, pre-draft visits, remember it was like 6 or 7, if I remember correctly from my list that I saw on the visits. They were actively looking at safety. So it's good to see that the Steelers are doing things that we all want them to do, right? Doesn't it feel good when they do that? So we'll see what happens. The other guy that they signed, let me get his name here for you, Cameron Candidate, long snapper. Now, obviously, that's just competition. They drafted Colin Hoba. I said his name backwards. Y'all heard what I said? Colin Hoba. They drafted that guy. And, you know, obviously, Greg Warren failed the physical same day that Ladarius Green did. They had to release him. So this appears to be more or less just a body for competition. You know, remember, this guy Colin is still a rookie. Even though he's a long snapper, you just never know. So I understand that. And they released A.J. Hughes, a punter, which we ain't worrying about that. You know, Jordan Berry is probably going to be the guy that, you know, is basically going to take that spot or keep that spot. Now, a couple other things I wanted to talk about, guys. Rule changes. Now, this is interesting. Now, there's a couple. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. But right off the top of the head, I know the celebrations. I like it. I like now that you'll be able to include a group. You know, maybe you want to, especially runners. Think back to when LT broke the touchdown record for the single season, and he went and hugged and dapped all of his linemen. Moments like that. Or moments like when we played San Diego, what was that, 2 years ago? Yeah, when Vic was still on the team. And we go for it right there at regulation, and Bell sneaks his way in. That's a moment where the whole team should be able to celebrate. You know what I mean? Him celebrating with his linemen. Or the receivers. You know, the receivers are like brothers. Antonio Brown, or say Juju Smith-Schuster gets his first touchdown, which we're predicting he's going to get one of those soon. Right? And all the receivers want to come and do something to welcome him to the NFL. I don't have a problem with that. I'm glad that they have let that kind of, you know, go a little bit. Now they're going to be more lenient. Obviously, the sexually explicit things are not going to fly. So Antonio Brown's half twerk, half booty pop, I don't know what that was. I would prefer my man AB not to do that again. I'm not questioning anything in regards to him, because I've seen some crazy reports. People were saying, oh, you know, he's a little feminine. No. That was just a moment. The man was on Dancing with the Stars. It was just a moment. He just did something funny. But I don't need to see that, right? And some of the other wild things. But now they're saying you can use the ball as the prompt and the ground as a prop. I'm great. I'm cool with that. Finally, bring some excitement back to let these dudes have a little fun for getting in the end zone. All right. Now, I agree with the excessive stuff. Eliminate that. But, the fun stuff. Tell me anybody in here in this chat that didn't like Ocho Cinco and Terrell Owens scoring. You was waiting to see what they was going to do. So allow our guys to have some fun. So I'm cool with that. This one is a little weird to me, man, because I was cool with the format when they changed it to allow both teams an opportunity. But I just think reducing the time in a way, to me, might encourage more ties. We won't know until it happens. I mean, the percentage of overtimes that happen in the NFL is very small anyway, so it could be a moot point. But that's the only issue I would have with it, is like now you might promote more ties, which could affect playoff and things like that. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes, but it is what it is. What else? The injured reserve players, being able to bring 2 guys back off of that list. Love that. I remember specifically, and my man Tony in here in the chat will remember this, me and him having a conversation saying, yo, who they going to bring back? You think they're going to bring back Dupree or Golson if Golson is healthy? We had that conversation. So I would like now that when we're in that situation, we can bring back the 2 best guys. You know what I mean? You don't have to pick now. It doesn't have to be one. I love that, as well as you don't really have to designate it until it happens. That's what it is per the rules. So I'm glad to hear that. And it's slipping my mind the other one, guys. Celebrations, IR. I can't remember the other one. It was a 4th one I wanted to talk about. Maybe you guys can remind me in the chat. But it's slipping my memory bank right now, guys. I must have made a withdrawal in the memory bank. So let's see. What else do we want to cover? All right, Martavis Bryant, man. And we're doing good time here, man. I appreciate you guys being patient with me. I'm going to try to get to you guys' questions in a quick moment so we can wrap up right about 12:55 here Eastern time. I don't think it's fair what they're doing to Martavis Bryant in terms of what I'm hearing about his drug testing. I'm hearing this 3 times a week. That to me is absolutely crazy. That 3 times a week. I mean, because if I'm no doctor or anything like that, but usually drugs stay in your system longer than a week or about a week. Even if you got things that can clear it out, usually about a week, right? So what's the point of testing him 3 times a week? That is absurd to me. That's just ridiculous. Now, it seems like he has his head on straight. He's saying all the right things. I know he's recently become a father, and speaking from somebody who I could still say I recently, my son is 3 years old, so they're still fairly recent. Speaking from somebody in that situation, it does change you. It definitely mellows you out. It makes you think about priorities a lot more. Absolutely. So I'm starting to believe him. They're saying he's looking good in camp. I did hear Bob Labriola said it was, a slight rust that you might see from, a little bit of stuff. He was like, which is expected this time of the year, and he's been away. He's like, but nothing that you would be concerned about. So I'm just excited, man, the fact that he may be able to be on the field with Antonio Brown, with Juju, with Eli Rogers, and whoever makes it out of the Sammy Coates and Haywood Bay and Hunter, that particular battle. Going to be very interesting, very special, man. But I just think it's unfair, man. That 3 times a week, that's just crazy. That's just crazy to me. I don't know, man. Y'all tell me how y'all feel about that. But perfect timing, man. Let me look and see if I got any of you guys questions here before I get out of here. Appreciate you guys coming through, man. You guys are always big time supporters. So let's see. A lot of you guys are just making comments. Burns had a good year. Yeah, Burns had a fairly decent year. Did better than Eli Apple. I probably would agree with that. My man Captain Spartan says, by the way, am I the only one noticing Juju, Josh Dobbs, and James Conner constantly hanging out together? You know what? See, this is why I love this format. I didn't notice that. That's a good point. That's a very good point, especially the Juju and Dobbs combination, because probably they're definitely going to be seeing some time together in preseason. And James Conner, you might add. But to me, the James Conner and the quarterback to running back chemistry is always great, because what can't go unnoticed is like pass protection and things like that. but definitely the receiver and quarterback, camaraderie and, being able to learn each other, the chemistry. So that's huge. I'm glad to hear that, man. I didn't notice that. So thanks, Cap, man, for letting us know about that. You said last night at the Pens game, not a hockey fan, but I happened to notice it. Juju and Josh Dobbs were at the game watching it together. Big Ben was at the game as well. I actually am a little bit of a hockey fan, believe it or not, y'all. I don't know much about it, but I've watched hockey quite a bit. I naturally just started following the Pens because, I was a Steelers fan. I said, hey, I might as well follow that team. So I did watch the game last night. That was actually an incredible game, man, for you hockey fans out there. I will say this. The Predators did get a little unfair, shake. There was a couple breaks here and there that the Pens got. But either way, I still think it was a great game. I think the Pens rightfully won it. And we'll see how the rest of it goes. But I have been watching that, by the way. And I noticed Big Ben was out there with the terrible towel. But I didn't see Dobbs and Juju. So I may have turned the channel for a moment or something like that. But appreciate the information. Tony says, green is soft as duck butter. Yeah, man. It's brain injury, man. Just, I don't know, man. It is what it is. What else are you guys saying, man? Martavis Bryant, my son, love that guy. He complete stuff. Yeah. He definitely does. Definitely does. I know exactly which son you're talking about as well. But that's about it. I don't see many questions. Blair Reed says, what's up with TJ Watt? What about him? Haven't heard much. I mean, I heard he's showing some good signs. I did hear that they said that mentally he's picking up a lot real fast. He's moving very fast in terms of his knowledge. I mean, again, it's OTAs in shorts. But, I'm hearing, TJ Watt, I would include him in that as far as what he's doing with his hands, and also Keon Adams. Keon Adams, I'm hearing a lot, from sources that he's looking very promising. Again, it's in shorts. But outside of that, nothing spectacular about TJ Watt, just the fact that they're saying mentally he's grasping everything. They're liking what they're seeing out of him for so far. But that's about it. Seth Harris said, no, I'm not from Pittsburgh, man. I live in Pennsylvania, but I'm not from Pittsburgh. I'm just a diehard Steeler, and I just adopt all the other Steeler teams. Like a lot of you guys know, I've adopted the Pirates. I'm now following baseball. I've never really been a baseball fan. Ironically, playing MLB The Show on the PlayStation, I've been playing that game, has gotten me into it. So I decided, hey, I'm going to start following baseball so I can really know the ins and outs. And I adopted the Pirates, I'd say maybe 3 months ago. And there you have it. I'll be a Pirates fan from here on out. I used to kind of follow the Yankees just because a lot of my, friends and family guys, my wife, she's from the Bronx. Her dad is a big-time Yankee fan. So I kind of, cheered for them. Never was really a baseball fan, but I just kind of cheered for them because, everyone around me did. But now I'm an actual MLB fan, and I'll be following the Pirates. What else? How did you become Charlie Ward. Charlie Ward was how I became a Noles fan, man. I mean, as a young kid, I was young, but I remember it was just something about that guy. Seeing him run around the way he did, and just the way he played. I barely even understood football, but I was like, that's who I like. Grew up and learned that was the Florida State Seminoles, and that's it. That's how I became a Noles fan. Is Charlie Ward is the reason why. No, I didn't see Deion Sanders play in college or anything like that, but it was Charlie Ward. He is the reason why I'm a Noles fan. Like, no doubt about it. Well, Bucko Nation in Pittsburgh welcomes you. Salute. I appreciate that, man. Well, guys, that's my time, man. I'm 3 minutes away from getting back to what we all do, and it's work. Fortunate enough to be able to work from here in home and my, down here in the basement or what have you. So I'm grateful for that. But that's all I got, man. I was happy to be able to do this live show for you guys. I think you definitely appreciate and you like this one because I can kind of see what you're saying, talk back to you. However, it's funny that last week's show did well as far as views as well, and it was pre-recorded. Next week, I'm assuming that I will be available. I'm just trying to think. I should be available again for a live show next week, but I'll let you guys know well in advance if not. And I'm going to try to remember here as I go back to work is to find that clip of Brian Allen's interception and put it here in the description. So definitely come back and check that out when you all get a chance. So that's all I got for you, man. One time for Steeler Nation. Here we go. We're going to swing the towel. We're going to touch the logo. And we'll see what happens. It's still relatively early, but we'll still have a lot to talk about as OTAs progress. So catch you guys next week, man. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. Hit the like button. Share the video. And y'all, stay easy. Catch you next week. Peace.